Well, as you've probably seen, the US dollar has been strengthening in relation to many other currencies. Now, on the surface, this certainly sounds positive, and truthfully, there are quite a few positives. But there are also some areas that aren't positively affected by a strong dollar. Now, in order to understand this, we need to understand how exchange rates work. So, an exchange rate is simply the value of one nation's currency in comparison to that of another. For example, one US dollar can be exchanged for 0.86 euros. So, if you were traveling to Europe and wanted some spending money, 100 US dollars would get you 86 euros. Generally speaking, currencies fluctuate based upon the demand for a nation's currency, as well as the goods produced in that currency. But they also fluctuate based upon supply, meaning that if a country engages in some type of accommodative monetary policy, there is likely to be an impact upon the value of their currency. For the most part, nations utilize what we call a floating exchange rate. And what this means is that the value of their currency fluctuates depending upon market conditions. Let's talk about the impact of a strong US dollar, much like we're experiencing currently. When a currency strengthens, that means that it can be exchanged for more of another currency. For example, in January of 2014, one US dollar could be exchanged for 0.73 euros. But because of an improving US economy and economic troubles in Europe, the US dollar has strengthened. So now, one US dollar is worth about 0.86 euros. This strengthening of the dollar has a number of different implications. First, let's look at some of the positives. As an American citizen traveling to Europe, you would likely be pleased with the strong dollar. To illustrate this, let me walk you through a brief scenario. Let's say that you wanted to travel to Europe about a year ago, and you obviously wanted to convert some dollars into euros. Last year, if you had exchanged 500 US dollars into euros, you would be left with about 350 euros. You might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound too bad. But let's see what happens now that the dollar has strengthened against the euro. If you were to take that same 500 US dollars and exchange it to euros today, you would receive 430 euros. Essentially, you receive an additional 80 euros just because of the exchange rate. Not a bad deal. So businesses in Europe that cater to tourists, such as hotels, restaurants, and other services, may actually benefit from a stronger dollar and subsequently a weaker euro. Outside of tourism, where else do exchange rates have an impact? Let's look at imports and exports. Just to refresh, an import constitutes goods that are produced in another country and brought into the country for consumption. So automobiles manufactured in Japan and shipped to the US for sale would be considered imports from the perspective of the US. An export is the exact opposite. In this case, a good is produced domestically and shipped internationally for consumption. You've probably noticed that fuel prices in the US have declined significantly over the past 6 months. Now, this is in part due to the US exporting more oil, which results in a greater supply of oil on the market. Now, based upon your knowledge of exchange rates thus far, would you say that US exports benefit from or are hurt by a strong US dollar? Let's walk through a quick example. Suppose our firm sells products for 50 US dollars. Under the old exchange rate, this product would sell for 36.5 euros. But with a stronger dollar, the same product now sells for 43 euros, meaning that the identical product now is 17% more expensive, simply due to the exchange rate and not a price increase by the firm. Although US importers enjoy a stronger dollar, as it means that they can purchase more foreign-made goods with the same amount of money, US exporters tend to prefer a weaker dollar, as it makes their goods appear more attractive to other countries. Hey there, thanks for watching this video. For access to our latest content, be sure to subscribe to Alanis Business Academy. And for additional content, feel free to check out the following videos. Thanks for watching.